I remember the exact moment I realized something was wrong with my marriage. It was late at night, and we had just finished another argument. The house was completely silent, but my mind was full of questions. How did I get here? Just 2 years earlier, I was sure I had found the perfect person. I thought I was marrying someone who loved me, someone who understood me, someone who wanted the same life I wanted. But sometimes, the person you think you know is not the person they really are. I met her when I was 26. At that time, I was working at a small company in the city. My life was simple. I worked during the day, spent time with friends on weekends, and tried to build a good future. Then one day, everything changed. She started working at the same office. I still remember the first time I saw her. She walked into the room with a big smile and introduced herself to everyone. She seemed confident, friendly, and full of energy. When she spoke to me for the first time, I felt something immediately. She was easy to talk to. We laughed a lot during that first conversation. From that day, we started talking more and more. At first, it was small things. We had coffee together during breaks. Sometimes we walked together after work. Little by little, we began sharing personal stories about our lives. She told me about her childhood, her dreams, and the things she wanted to achieve. And I told her about mine. Everything felt natural, easy, comfortable. After a few months, we started dating. At the beginning, it felt like a dream. She was always exciting, always full of plans, always wanting to do something new. We traveled together, tried new restaurants, and stayed up late talking about our future. For the first time in my life, I felt like I was building something real with someone. My friends liked her. My family welcomed her. Everything seemed perfect, but if I'm honest, there were small moments that made me feel uncomfortable. At the time, I ignored them. Sometimes she became angry very quickly, even about small things. Sometimes she would stop talking to me for hours if she was upset. I told myself it was normal. Everyone has bad days. Everyone has emotions. But deep inside, a small voice in my mind was asking a question. Is this really normal? Still, I didn't listen to that voice. 1 year later, I asked her to marry me. I remember the day very clearly. We were walking in a park near the river. The sun was setting, and everything looked beautiful. I took a deep breath, got down on one knee, and asked her the question that would change my life. Will you marry me? She looked surprised for a moment. Then she smiled and said yes. At that moment, I felt like the happiest man in the world. Or at least that's what I thought. Because the truth is, I didn't know it yet. But the hardest part of my life was just beginning. A few months later, we got married. The wedding was beautiful. Our families were there, our friends were smiling, and everyone kept telling us how perfect we looked together. I remember standing there, listening to the music, holding her hand, thinking that this was the start of the best chapter of my life. But sometimes, the beginning of something beautiful can also be the beginning of something difficult. At first, married life seemed normal. We moved into a small apartment together and started building our life as a couple. But slowly, things began to change. The small problems I had noticed before the wedding started to grow bigger. Arguments became more frequent. Sometimes they started from very small things. A forgotten message, a late arrival from work, a simple misunderstanding. What surprised me the most was how quickly everything could turn into a fight. Sometimes she would become extremely angry, and I didn't understand why. Other times she would stop speaking to me completely, sometimes for an entire day. The silence in the apartment became heavy. I started feeling nervous in my own home. I remember one night when we were sitting at the dinner table. We had barely spoken during the entire meal. I looked at her and realized something strange. I didn't feel happy. That moment stayed in my mind for a long time. Weeks passed, then months, and slowly, a thought began to appear more and more often in my head. Did I make a mistake? At first, I tried to ignore that thought. I told myself that every marriage has problems. Maybe things would improve with time. Maybe we just needed patience. But deep inside, I knew something was wrong. One night, we had another argument. I honestly don't even remember what it was about, but I remember how it ended. She left the room, slammed the door, and the apartment became completely silent. I sat there alone in the living room. For the first time, I asked myself a question that I had been avoiding for a long time. What if I married the wrong person? That question was painful, but it was also honest. In that moment, I realized something important. Love is not only about passion or excitement. Love is also about peace, respect, and feeling safe with someone. And the truth was, I didn't feel those things anymore. A few weeks later, we had a long conversation. For the first time, we spoke honestly about everything. Our frustrations, our expectations, our mistakes. And we both realized something difficult. We had tried to force a relationship that simply wasn't right for us. The decision was not easy, but it was necessary. We decided to separate. The process was painful. Ending a marriage is never simple. But with time, I started to understand something important. Sometimes the biggest mistake in your life can also become your biggest lesson. That experience taught me to listen to my instincts. It taught me that ignoring small problems can create bigger ones later. And most importantly, it taught me that a healthy relationship should bring peace to your life, not constant pain. Today, when I look back at that time, I don't feel anger. I feel gratitude for the lesson. Because sometimes realizing that you married the wrong person is the first step toward finding the right life for yourself.